Hi Year 1 and welcome to another English lesson. Just like the other lessons, make sure you've got something to write with and something to write on so that you can write down some ideas and join in as we are going along. So the learning objective for today is to write a story with a beginning, a middle and an end. And our success criteria is to identify events in the story, explore using the story S and apply the changes into your story. So the first thing I want you to do is I would like you to get your story S that you made in yesterday's lesson, put it in front of you because I want you to look at it and I want you to use it to retell your story that you have planned. So pause the video and I want you to do that. Okay, brilliant work. I'm going to use my story S that I made in yesterday's lesson to retell my story out loud now. So at the beginning of my story, I have got Jill and Mum, and Jill is my new character that I've replaced Jack with. And Mum says to Jill, go and sell the cow at the market. So Jill takes the cow and she finds an old man who says, I want the cow. She sells the cow to him and instead of money, she gets beans. So she goes home to Mum and says, I have beans. But Mum is not happy. She throws the beans outside. In the morning, Jill looks out and she sees that something has grown outside and is growing into a beanstalk. And Jill says, wow, they are magic beans. So Jill, because she's very brave and adventurous, she decides to climb up the beanstalk. And Mum gets a bit worried and says, be careful, Jill. As Jill climbs and climbs and climbs, she reaches the top of the beanstalk and she sees a castle. Jill goes inside the castle and she sees a giant with a magic hen who can lay golden eggs. And she can hear the giant roaring, fee, fi, fo, fum. She then sees that the giant has a golden harp. And the golden harp plays a lovely song that makes the giant fall asleep. So Jill, because she's very brave, like I said before, she decides to take the golden harp and the golden eggs because she knows that they're very poor. Her mum is very poor, so she needs money. So she takes them and she decides to run to the beanstalk and she starts to climb down and the giant wakes up and comes after her and shouts, fee, fi, fo, fum. But Jill manages to get away and she climbs all the way to the bottom of the beanstalk, grabs a sharp axe and chops the beanstalk down. And the story ends with Jill and her mum. Together they're happy and the beanstalk and the giant are no more. So today's lesson, we're only going to focus on the beginning of our story, which I have circled in red so it goes up to where Mum throws the beans outside. So I want you now to look at your story S and remind yourself about the beginning of your story. So this is the beginning of my story that I've written. You can see the title is called Jill and the Beanstalk. You're going to replace Jill with the name of your new character. I want you to pause the video now and read through what I have written for my beginning of the story. Brilliant work. I'm going to read the start of my story out loud for you now. So Jill and the Beanstalk. Once upon a time lived a widow with her daughter Jill. Their only possession was a fine fat cow, so she asked Jill to sell the cow at the market. On the way to the market, at the edge of the forest, Jill met an old man. What a lovely fat cow you have there, screamed the old man. Will you sell the cow? Now, I don't have money, young girl, but I have something far better. These beans here are very special. They will bring you great happiness and fortune. Jill thought it was incredible. Happiness and fortune for this useless cow? You have a deal, she exclaimed delightedly. She ran home as fast as her little legs could carry her, and showed her mum the colourful beans the old man had given to her. What have you done, Jill? We need money, not useless beans. Jill's mother was so angry, she threw the beans straight out of the window and stormed off, leaving Jill alone. So I want to remind you, this is what you learnt last week. We're going to go over it again so that you know it really well. We use capital letters at the beginning of the sentence for a name, for the name of a place, for days of the week, for months of the year, and we use full stops at the end of a sentence. So I want you to look through the beginning of my story again, and I want you to pause the video and find the capital letters in the text. Brilliant, well done. I have highlighted in red all the capital letters in the text. You can see that I have used them at the start of a sentence. I have used a capital letter for names. I have used capital letters for when I'm saying I. So well done for getting those correct. Remember again, we use capital letters at the beginning of a sentence, for a name, for the name of a place, for days of the week, for months of the year. And we use full stops at the end of a sentence. So now we're going to tick the sentences that are correct, and we will fix the sentences that are not correct. The first sentence is, once upon a time lived a widow with her daughter Jill. The second sentence says, I want the cow. These beans are very special. And the last sentence says, we need money. These beans are useless. I want you to pause the video, and I want you to have a look at these sentences. And if there's a sentence that is not correct, I want you to write it on your paper, and I want you to fix it. Fantastic. The first one is correct, and the last one is correct because the capital letters are correct in the sentence. There's a capital letter at the start of the sentence, there's a capital letter for the name Jill, and in the last sentence there's a capital letter at the start for we, and there's a capital letter after the full stop. So well done, those sentences are correct. And it's the second sentence that was not correct. I needs to be a capital letter, and there should have been a capital letter for the word these because it's the first word after a full stop. Remember, we use capital letters at the beginning of a sentence, for a name, for the name of a place, for days of the week, for months of the year, and we always use full stops at the end of a sentence. So you are going to write the beginning of your story today. Remember to use your story S and to include your new character. So it's not going to be called Jack and the Beanstalk. You're going to call it a new name now. Only go up to the part that I have circled when the mum throws the beans outside. Don't go any further than that because we're just going to write the beginning of our story today. Before you go, I've got a challenge for you. I want you to see if you can spot the mistakes in my sentences. So the first sentence is, the giant was furious when he saw Jack. The second sentence is, Poppy was playing with her golden ball. Then it fell in the water. And the last sentence is, Freddie had a teddy called Eddie. I want you to write these sentences down and correct them. Brilliant work. There should have been a capital letter for the because it's the first word in the sentence, and there should have been a capital letter for Jack because it's a name. In the second sentence there should have been a capital letter for Poppy, and there should be a capital letter for then as it's the first word after a full stop. And in the last sentence there should be a capital letter for Freddie because it's a name, and a capital letter for Eddie because it's also a name. Good work. Well done for your work today. And I can't wait to see what the beginning of your story looks like. Remember to use your story S to help you. Bye!